throw. Mallet. Oh, he's got a man wide open. He totally fooled the Georgia defense. Chris Gragg going to have a sandwich, going to walk in. Touchdown, Arkansas. On 3rd down and 1.
This is former Razorback Chris Gragg, and you're listening to The Morning Rush.
Welcome into hour number 3 of The Morning Rush. Going to go right to the phone lines, and welcome to the guy that was, you just heard, Chris Gragg, former Razorback tight end, former Buffalo Bill. Chris, thanks for making some time for us this morning on The Morning Rush, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we got a chance, I think, Chris, to talk last summer, and I was going back and listening to our conversation. One of the things that we didn't discuss then was your transition from wide receiver to tight end. You played wide receiver at Warren along with Jarius Wright, along with Greg Childs, and that was an aspect that you had to buy into when you moved to Arkansas and you started playing with under Bobby Petrino. You started, I think, at like 205, and by the time after your injury and stuff, you were close to 230. How much of a process did that take you to develop in the weight room and transition from a wide receiver to a tight end?
It was a pretty big transition, to be honest. When Bobby Petrino got the job around this time, my senior year in high school, we kind of talked about kind of becoming an H-back because he watched my film. He saw that I was a big physical receiver. And he talked about maybe moving to the H-back after he got around DJ Williams and saw some of the things he was doing. He kind of saw me in a similar role. And after my freshman year, like you say, when I had an injury going into my sophomore year, he told me that transition, when I come back, I could have a chance to be a starter and play a lot of downs. So I got in the weight room. I used to eat 5 meals a day. I worked out 5 times a week. And like you say, by the time I was getting ready to leave Arkansas, I was a little over 230.
Chris, I think when you look at the tight end room for Arkansas, it's, I don't know if it's a weak point, but it definitely was not a strength this past year. I know Hudson has had to deal with some injuries. Blake Kern, former walk-on's back for another year. Just getting the chance to watch them play, what stood out from Blake Kern and Hudson Henry this past season?
Well, the little that I did get to watch, I knew Kern was an athlete just from being around the team and stuff, like when my brother was there and when Coach Lunny was there. I used to hang around and shadow a lot of the tight ends, and I knew Kern was a big athlete, and I knew Hudson has a lot of potential, and I'm ready to see those guys develop and get out there and make some plays.
You know, as you get your toe kind of dipped into the coaching waters, tell us how that experience went for you, and kind of turning the page from player to coach, and how that transition in your career and life has been.
Well, I can tell you it's a lot different than playing. It's a lot more logistical things instead of worrying about just making sure you are doing your job. You have to worry about, a group of guys that you're over. Then you have to worry about a whole side of the ball. And it's a lot different than playing. But I appreciate the opportunity at Memphis. We had a good year last year. We went 8-3, won the Montgomery Bowl, and I learned a whole lot over there. I appreciate the staff.
We're talking with Chris Gragg, former Razorback, here on the Morning Rush. Clay, if you want to hop in here, feel free to. So, to Tommy's question, Chris, there is a current job opening right now at the University of Arkansas. Sam Pittman will probably hear this interview one way or another. Give me your elevator pitch. Now, I know you don't have just a deep background in coaching, but you're not too far removed from college either. What would your pitch be to Sam Pittman and Hunter Yurachek that you should be hired as the tight ends coach at the University of Arkansas?
Well, I'm going to give you my pitch, but I'm going to say this first. I haven't been in contact with Hunter Yurachek about the tight ends position. I've talked to Sam Pittman a little bit after my season was over at Memphis, and I've had some contact with some guys about maybe joining the program in some capacity, but I haven't talked to him about the tight ends job. But if I was to talk to him about the tight ends job, I would let him know that, hey, I love to develop players. I really love studying the game. I love working with young people. I'm a former Arkansas Razorback that had a lot of success here. My family is well known in the state. My dad is a part of the AAA. I've been all around every high school around the state. Recruiting would be something that I would be very passionate about, especially in the state of Arkansas. And I would give it my blood, sweat, and tears just like I did when I played.
Chris, I think you did something there that I think is important, just saying that you want to be a part of the program in some capacity. And you mentioned your time at Memphis as a GA. What role, maybe not directly as a tight ends coach, but if you did get a job at Arkansas with the football team, what role do you think you would be successful in early on that maybe you could parlay into becoming an assistant coach at some point?
Hey, if I could work as just an offensive assistant, offensive analyst somewhere, just being around the game, I would work in the personnel department, recruiting. I would just anything. I would even be in a foundation if that's what it took. I've just got, like you said, I got my foot in the door working at Memphis last year. But the way I've seen these guys have trajectory going up is when they end up getting back with their alma maters, and that's something that I kind of want to try to do.
Go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, Chris, I was just curious to your thoughts of the Super Bowl and in the games yesterday as they played at, and what I mean is this Patrick Mahomes' time?
Man, this is really like Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. That's what I kind of look at it like. Tom Brady is Michael Jordan, and Patrick Mahomes is LeBron James. Of course, I didn't like Patrick Mahomes getting the win over my Bills, who I spent 4 years of my career with. But I'm happy for him. The Chiefs are a great team, and Tom Brady has turned the Bucs all the way around, so it should be a great game.
You didn't pick a team, Chris.
I'm going to have to go with the young guy. I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs, man. Like you said, I think it's their time. I think Tom Brady, I'm giving my hats off to him just for getting there with a brand new team, brand new staff. But I think this is Patrick Mahomes' boy's time.
So with what you have seen and the longevity of Tom Brady's career, is there any debate left that he's the greatest of all time right now? 10 Super Bowl appearances, won 6, could be a 7th here in less than 2 weeks. Is there any need to even debate who the greatest quarterback of all time is?
No, to me, there's no debate on the greatest quarterback ever. It's Tom Brady. I mean, he's doing basically the same thing LeBron James has done in the league, has won more championships, actually. But, I mean, just to go to the championship 10 times, people don't realize how hard that really is. And now he's done it with 2 different teams, so, yeah, he's got to be the GOAT.
What's more impressive about what Tom Brady has done in his career, that the 10 Super Bowl appearances, which is pretty difficult for, no one else has done it, so that tells you how difficult that feat is, or the longevity of his career, to still be playing at 43 at the level he's playing at, the way he's mastered nutrition, the way he has been able to extend his career through fitness and nutrition. The longevity of his career is about as impressive to me as the accomplishments itself, Chris.
Yes, it is. I mean, like you say, I spent 5 years in the AFC East, and he dominated it for those 5 years. He probably dominated it for 17 years in total, and now he's down in Tampa, and they're in the Super Bowl again. So, I mean, the longevity and the consistency, to me, that's what makes you great. I mean, you win a division up there, and then you go to a whole nother division, and the first time you're there, you end up in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's pretty remarkable in the NFL.
Chris, when you watch the Chiefs play and you see the way they use Travis Kelce, does it just kind of warm your heart as an old tight end?
Oh, man, it makes me very excited. Me and Travis Kelce are somewhat good friends. We came out the same year, met at the Combine. Him and Al Davis were teammates for a lot of years, so we hung out some. And I love when Travis Kelce, I told him he was a Hall of Famer before this year, and I think he's trying to be the greatest of all time now.
Chris Gragg, former Razorback, with us on the Morning Rush. Chris, you mentioned your relationship with Travis Kelce. He's got a wild story. Like, his older brother Jason kind of had to help him out. There was a time in his career that he was getting into some trouble. Have you guys talked about that kind of side of it, where he at one point didn't look like he might not make it to the NFL?
No, I haven't really talked to him about that, but I know exactly how he goes through. I mean, me and my little brother have kind of went through the same kind of thing, being super talented and kind of paths being a little different, but so I feel where he's coming from with that.
Chris, speaking of talent, you heard it in our open, the Treylon Burks touchdown against Tennessee. I found it really fascinating in the conversations you've had. You spoke to being a water boy for Warren initially growing up as a kid because your dad was a part of the organization down there. And Treylon's story is a lot. It's very similar to you. He helped out with the Lumberjacks program early on as a kid. Just your impressions growing up around. I know he's years younger, but knowing what Treylon Burks is as a wide receiver and just how he blossomed in year 2 at Arkansas.
I mean, I really think Bo has a formula down there in Warren. Like, if he thinks you're going to be a player, he tries to have you around the program as much as possible. And like you say, when we were coming up and Treylon was young, he was around. We knew that he was super athletic and was going to be a freak when he got older. And then just seeing his development and just the playmaker that he has become, like, I think it might have something to do with being a water boy while you're elementary.
Something in the water down there in Warren, Arkansas. It's the Mark Jones quote. They produce great tomatoes and football players, the old ESPN broadcaster. Chris, before we let you go, so I want to go back to the recruiting process because you were a part of a class in 2008. You, Joe, Jarius, Greg, Tyler. I mean, that class was loaded. Man, this class in 2022's got a lot of in-state talent. From your vantage point, from your perspective, how important is it having successful Arkansas high school football kids go to the U of A to help that football program in Fayetteville, Arkansas?
I mean, it makes tons of sense. I mean, just through my lifetime, the successful teams that have won 8-9 games have had a big presence of playmakers and starters from in-state. I mean, you go back to Matt Jones being from Arkansas, to Darren McFadden being from Arkansas, to the load of guys that we had from Arkansas when we were successful. I mean, it just seems from just watching that if you have a big in-state talent pool, that if they go to Arkansas, you can be successful.
Chris, we really appreciate your time this morning. Chris Gragg, former Razorbacks tight end. Chris, I want to wish you the best of luck and hopefully getting the job with the Arkansas football team. And if you do, make sure you let us know, okay, man?
All right. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Good stuff with Chris this morning.